Sick Harrison Price for Tuesday, July 15th, 2025, coming to you from the Nation Network studio, built by Arbor Lee, here at the historic Wall Center in the show, a presentation of Bet365. Matt Sick Harrison alongside Blake Price, Mike Rogerson, and all his Junos hitting switches and conducting things.
Greetings.
Greetings. How are you?
I'm good. Good, yeah. Another beautiful summer day here in the Lower Mainland.
Hot. Hot, hot, hot.
It is hot.
As Wally would say.
Mm-hmm.
When a guy's hot. We start with the Whistler Golf Club poll question. Do you agree with what the Canucks have done in goal? And we don't just mean the trade of Archer Silovs from Sunday. We mean the extending of Thatcher Demko and, of course, going back to the extension of Kevin Lankinen in season. They've been very busy in the goal. Drafted a kid in the second round.
Transactions for all three goalies in the last half year.
You can vote yes, you can vote no. Do so at the Sick Harrison Price X and YouTube channels. I've answered this, and again, two different paradigms with the Vancouver Canucks. The vision of being a Stanley Cup champion and all in on next year's playoffs.
Yes.
They are an all in on next year's playoffs franchise. They lurch year to year. And if that's the aim, then absolutely, they have chosen the correct pathway here. I voted yes.
I think I understand the approach, certainly. Just the question, and it's not like I've got any individual issue at all with in a vacuum
with the three moves.
With the three moves in a vacuum, it's the only quibble you could possibly have is just that.
I think there's more than one quibble.
Who invests this much in goaltending?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think there are three quibbles. Well, four, actually, within here. Number one, the amount of money they are investing in goaltending. Again, not this season because Thatcher is on the old deal, but starting next season when Thatcher is making the $8.5 million. That's the first. Number two is the Demko extension itself. You had time, you chose not to use it. And again, if Demko returns to Vezina finalist form, you've saved some money on this extension.
That's a paper tiger, though, Matt. Let's say he has a great October and November. That doesn't mean anything. He's still got injury riddled on him.
But that's what I mean, Blake. If he's healthy and returns to Vezina Trophy form, then you have saved some money on what it would have cost to extend him.
Right now, yes. In the current state of affairs, yes. But I'm saying if you wait, if
they had waited till the trade deadline and Thatcher's having a banner season, he's going to be more than 8.5.
Right.
Okay. So we agree here.
But that's not a quibble then. That's the reason why you would do this deal.
No. But you had time, you chose not to use it. If Demko goes out and pops his popliteus in October,
yes,
then all of a sudden you are heavily invested in a goaltender who can't stay healthy and who can't be that bell cow starter.
But you're not heavily invested to the tune of 7 or 8 years, which is what you...
It doesn't matter.
Well, it does. Hear me out. Okay. He's got a great season till January. So you re-enter into negotiations with him there. You sign him. He's had a great season. People think he's going to be the number 2 guy at the Olympics. He's going to be in the Vezina conversation. So you open up conversations with him at the end of January. You sign him to an 8-year deal. And then March 20th, he's injured again. Right? You can be duped there too.
The point is, you could have let him play out the entirety of next season and had a better gauge of his health, B, his effectiveness. They chose not to do that.
If you had let him, you can't. Come on, you would have.
For some, they committed too much money for a player who has not proven any kind of durability over his career.
And that's why the 3-year deal I will apply.
I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying that is a quibble that is out there that you're perfectly entitled to. Because, Blake, when we talked about this, because Thatcher, as you recall, came out towards the end of the season, said, I'd like to extend. I'd love to be here my whole career. The Canucks brass then started talking about it. And what we were hearing back from a lot of Canucks fans and our audience was, what's the rush here? Why not see that the guy can make it through a season before we go ahead and commit any kind of money or term to him? So just saying, that's a quibble that's out there. Okay. Number 3 would be the money in term you gave Lankinen. For some, you gave a journeyman backup or at best co-starter in the National Hockey League, both term and money. And again, you can look at it vis-a-vis some of the other extensions that were signed last year for goaltenders and say, actually, I think it's a pretty good contract. I did just that when they re-signed him. For others, it was just too small a sample size for Lankinen to commit to the lengths that they committed. Is that fair?
To me, all the quibbles, except for the cap hit, except for the $13 million they're scheduled to start paying next season, are fine-tuning quibbles. They're like, hey, would you like Demko's deal to be $7 million by 3 years? Yeah, you would. That would be great. But you have to be realistic in the escalating cap era that there's going to be it's a little bit too high a number for Demko. I don't think there's any quibble on the term. And on Lankinen, yeah. Would you like it to be $750K less for 2 years less? Yeah. But these are fine tuned. So there's not real.
No, Blake.
Stand on a soapbox.
I would not have extended Demko at all. I would have let him play out this season and gained more information before making.
But again, you can screw yourself over doing that. Like that's just a gamble.
So?
It's a gamble.
How so?
Because if he's great, he's going to demand term. He can't. You're not getting the 3. If he's great, you're not getting a 3-year deal.
Okay, fair enough. But I've got Lankinen under contract.
Yeah, but Demko's the better goalie by a long shot. Yeah.
Okay. No, his ceiling is way better. I will give you that.
And he's got a way bigger sample size for what you're judging. You just brought up the point.
You get to the trade deadline, and especially if you're out of it, you got a hell of a trade chip there, right? If he's doing great.
You're going to trade the guy that's hitting on all cylinders, the goalie?
Well, if you're out of the playoffs.
Yeah, but that's just a moment in time. You're hoping next year you're better.
Yeah. But you got Lankinen under contract.
I don't think they would have traded.
I don't think they would have traded Silovs in that. Demko. No, I don't think they would have traded Silovs in that event, right? Like if Thatcher's going into the last year of his deal, I think they probably tried to keep Archer Silovs somehow, some way.
Just in case Demko says I'm done.
And then the other quibble would be, as Kevin Woodley brought up on the show yesterday, I don't think you quite got Archer Silovs enough starts before his waiver eligibility kicked in, right? And that was mostly shared arrangements in the American Hockey League. Not to mention a head coach who was very impatient with Archer Silovs when he struggled early in the season and struggled behind a team that was poorly constructed on the blue line.
Yeah.
My sense is that Archers would have looked better with a Marcus Pettersson and Elias Pettersson DPD playing in front of him as the two of them were towards the end of the Canucks season, as opposed to Vincent Desharnais, Eric Brandstrom, and the guys they were trying early in the season.
As we've chronicled, they...
I'm not saying I agree with all these. I'm just saying if you want to analyze it, both sides of the coin, there is material here to go at.
They erroneously thought they were still in it for way too long, and they could have been seeing what they've got with Archer Silovs, and at the very least, not even seeing what they've got, showing the world what he's got, so that maybe there was... a chance, because I mean, if he has 2 good starts, his NHL numbers last season get a big bump because he had a couple of really bad starts that completely killed his numbers. They could have put some polish on that with a couple of decent late season starts.
Yes. One thing I'll give the Canucks credit for, and this came across my orbit this morning. So Archer Silovs is not the only sort of goaltending prospect who has touched the NHL who is out there right now. Remember Mikey DiPietro, everybody? One-time Vancouver Canuck, one-time Canadian World Junior hero, Blake. Remember that? Traded to the Boston Bruins. Well, Mikey DiPietro had a hell of a year last year in the American Hockey League. In fact, Mikey DiPietro has had two really good years in the AHL.
And a good playoff run, too. He only won series, but he played very well in it.
He was 26-8-5 this year with Providence of the AHL. 205 goals against, 927 save percentage in 40 games. Attaboy, Mikey. He's Michael now. He's chosen.
Yes.
He's grown up. And the previous year was 30 games, 18-9-2, 251 GAA, and a 918 save percentage.
Not even the year before with the Abbotsford Canucks, he was 901. He hasn't been sub 900 since 21-22.
Yeah. And, we talked yesterday about Artur Silovs in Canucks folklore. Mikey DiPietro is in Canucks folklore too, because the poor kid played three, and I say this, the poor kid played 3 NHL games over 3 different NHL seasons and was wholly unready to play in the National Hockey League, particularly that first game. Do you remember San Jose and how they shelled him?
Yeah. But
that was in 2018, 2019. He was a child.
He was a teenager. He was 19.
He was wholly unready, and apparently went back that year to the OHL thinking, okay, I've kind of made it here. My career's moving. And people are like, no, Mikey, that was an emergency start, bro. Hit the brakes, pump the brakes. So anyways, Michael DiPietro traded from the Vancouver Canucks to the Boston Bruins.
Let me update the Mikey DiPietro stats here. He has never been below 900 in anything but the NHL.
Yep.
In the AHL, he's never been below 900.
Yeah.
Which is tough to do for a guy that starts there at the age of 20. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. So he made 2 emergency starts for Thatcher Demko, one because of injury, one in the COVID year.
Yeah.
And they got into a third NHL game. But here's the thing. So the Canucks trade him to the Boston Bruins along with a prospect, Jonathan Myrenberg, for Jack Studnicka. Remember him, in October 2022. And, we thought nothing of it. I shouldn't say we thought nothing of it. We just thought, okay, there was a potential Canucks goaltender of the future who is now taking a step back, and they're moving him on. Fair enough. So Boston's got a little bit of a quandary with him because he's been that good. And like Artur Silovs, he requires waivers now. And so I see that some of the insiders are looking around the Boston Bruins crease and going, Jeremy Swayman is going to be their starter. Of course, they had to take back Joonas Korpisalo in the Linus Ullmark deal with the Ottawa Senators last year. Korpisalo's got $3 million. He's cost them $3 million for the next 3 years. He's got a modified no trade. He's got a 10-team no trade list. And so Boston is staring down the barrel of, do we want to lose Michael DiPietro on waivers? Or is he going to be our backup and we're going to bury $3 million? And of course, most of that will count on the cap, not to mention the fact owners don't love paying $3 million to guys who play in the AHL. And so the Canucks got in and made their move on Silovs ahead of Boston doing anything with either Korpisalo or Michael DiPietro. And that's something we didn't mention yesterday that I think adds to the context and the environment that we were talking about here. Because for Pittsburgh or for other teams that are looking to fortify deep in their crease, there were a couple options here with Silovs and DiPietro. And Pittsburgh has gone down the Silovs route.
And Korpisalo and Swayman were both dreadful last year.
They were not very good at goal.
893 Korpisalo, 892 Swayman. I mean, they're hoping.
Korpisalo's been dreadful for a bit here, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So they're I'm sure they're still, rending their garments here, wondering what to do.
You voted yes or you voted no on the poll? You voted yes by the sense of it. You agreed with what they've done?
Yeah, again, would you fine tune it? Would you make minor quibbles? Yeah, but overall, no. I understand what they've done, and I at least applaud the courage of their conviction, Matt, in that they had a plan. Like, this looks planned.
Yes. Oh, this. Yeah. Because the rest of the offseason looks a little like the no plan. But in the goal,
center ice position, certainly.
Well,
like, just hoping.
They wanted a center. They tried everything. They told everybody they're going for a center. Then they didn't land a center, and then they spent all their money on wingers. And now, and we'll get to it in a second, they're looking to move money out. Like,
you just like,
come on, guys. Like, this is a huge step back. Like, this is Benning era management, for God's sakes. Oh, so now we're capped down. Now we got to move money to try and get the guy in that we want, please.
What you didn't want to see is them go into camp with the 3 goalies, almost hoping for an injury so that they could avoid putting somebody away. That's no plan. Hope is not a plan. This was planned. They executed it.
Yes.
We'll see how it turns out.
Daily poll question brought to you by the Arnold Palmer Design Whistler Golf Club. We're going to get up there next week. I'm very much looking forward to our round with Al Chrismanson, the director of Golf GM at the Whistler Golf Club. They're taking bookings for any time during the 2025 season. The prime times always fill up fast, so get there if you're looking to play on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And if you're golfing or just visiting Whistler, highly recommend Palmer's Gallery Bar and Grill. It overlooks the 18th green. You can get some shade there, get out of the sun, have a refreshing beverage, maybe even an Arnold Palmer, or one of the great local craft brews. They've got the home of Whistler's best burger. You can watch the golf. You might even see some wildlife. If you have a group of 12 or more and you're looking to play, tell them about your group, whistlergolf.com/groups. Top story brought to you by Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, Foolish Winery. Canucks looking to move money to sign remaining free agents. Thomas Drance of The Athletic with the report. We'll read his tweet, maybe midsummer, but Canucks management isn't off to the cottage just yet. Thomas, cabin.
He knows.
I know the Ontario guys say cottage, but it's cabin.
And
love him to death, but
it's not an Ontario GM. If it was an Ontario GM, I would grant him that. But
although, what is it in Sweden? It is an Ontario president of hockey operations. You can tell with how much he loves doing Toronto media.
That's true.
Drance says, here the club is monitoring a couple of UFA options still on the market. No surprise given their recent history. Vancouver needs to move out cap dollars first, and they're actively working to do so. So I think here's what's happened, everybody. The owner has long wanted Evander Kane. The owner asked them to go get Evander Kane when he was available. Evander Kane had a market, and so they had to take on $5 million plus of Evander Kane. That cut into the money that they were otherwise going to spend, hopefully, at center ice. Then the center ice options dried up. Well, we need goals. Brock Besser will be the best goal scorer available. Let's re-sign Besser. You know he loves Vancouver. Let's keep him home. Then, suddenly, oh, look at that. We have no cap space. We've talked about Dakota Joshua as a potential exit here, $3.25 million, so that his money could be deployed elsewhere. We're also talking now, according to Drance, about Teddy Bluger and his $1.8 million between the two of them. That's potentially $5 million you can move out in order to go after remaining free agents. Now, the remaining free agent list is not a glorious one, but as we have said, there are some guys there that can play center. Jack Roslovic, most notably with Carolina. Blake brought us a deep dive into Joe Veleno, ex-Red Wing.
Not advocacy.
No.
Just context.
Yes. Ex-Red Wing, and where else was Joe?
Well, for a second,
right. He was bought out by the Kraken. Yeah. Robbie Fabry has played center in the past, came up as a center. Jenny Kuznetsov, if you think he has anything left coming back from Europe center. Luke
but
Cunnin.
Who in that list, Matt? Like if you got cap space,
Roslovic is the only one there, Blake. Victor Olofsson, but
he's not a center.
He's not a center.
But you're telling me you're going to go through the rigmarole of moving out cap space, orchestrating a secondary deal to make room for Jack Roslovic?
I didn't get that myself. I didn't get that myself.
Like, if you got cap space, you got $6 million cap space, and you can get Roslovic for a song, sure.
Yeah.
But you're going to create work for yourself for a very imperfect solution at center? I don't know. I would rather the report have been, and this wasn't really the report, I would rather the report have been, the Canucks are looking to create cap space so they can swing a trade for a true second-line center.
And
that I've got some time for.
Yeah.
I'd still like to know who that player is, but you know what I mean?
I would have to think that's a parallel track here, Blake. Like, I know Drance noted UFA options, but I would have to think that's a parallel track.
Yeah, I'm going to take Drance literally.
Because the other thing
is,
you know, there is money out there. So it is possible that Roslovic is holding out going, these offers are going to improve because there is money out there, and the closer we get to the season, the closer we are to desperation for some of these GMs, or somebody gets hurt in the summer and all of a sudden somebody's got a much bigger need, and thus he's going to get his money, his term, whatever he wants. And he could very well be looking for a fit, right? Like market fit or style of play fit or coaching fit or something like that. And all of that is legitimate. One would think in a regular free agent environment, the price isn't going up from here. But the difference this year is there's still a lot of money out there that is not yet invested in players. There are still teams rocking tons of cap space. So it may be a little different than what you may remember a few years ago with Pius Suter, where the poor guy waited all summer going, God, I'm one of the better third-line center options out there, and nobody outside of the Vancouver Canucks were willing to give him a deal. And he's told us a couple of times, Pius did, about his frustration with that summer, how disappointing and frustrating that was for him. Now, look, we've brought Nazem Kadri's name up, and there is trade protection there, but especially if Calgary is dealing Rasmus Andersson, you are absolutely closer to a rebuild in Cowtown if an Andersson deal is going down. And thus, does Kadri want to stick around there with his no-move clause, or does he want to go play for a contender at age 34? He'll be 35 just on the eve of the season.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
He joined a podcast, and he certainly didn't snuff out the rumors. Here's Nazem Kadri, quote, "It's happened quite often over the last couple of months, so it's a bit bizarre just scrolling around and seeing your face pop up and your name pop up. Obviously, the rumor mill is pretty strong, especially around these parts, and a lot of the time the rumors could catch some fire, and that fire turns into bigger fires." He basically, in this interview, gave everybody who listened the sense he would welcome a return to the Toronto Maple Leafs, where his ex-general manager, who gave him this big, long contract, Brad Treliving, is now operating. There's also talk about Montreal. It's an up-and-coming team that made the playoffs last year for the first time as they hunt for a second-line center. Kadri went on. God, he's a beauty. Talking about the rumors. You know what? Why not? I mean, there's not a whole lot in terms of sports going on right now. I definitely think it's a topic to talk about. And, hey, why not talk about it? So there you go. You have an NHL player fueling rumors about his trade. He's happy to do so. I think that's because Toronto, Montreal, I have a feeling both are destinations he's A-okay with.
And I certainly think that Toronto could make some use of him. But again, the fact that he's got 4 years remaining at this stage. If he's going into 2 years left on his contract, oh my gosh, I think teams would be falling over themselves to make offers. But
do me the find the buyout of the final year on Kadri.
Of the final year.
Yeah, like if you were to do 3 more years of Kadri, so you get him at 35, 36, 37.
So you're buying him out.
You're buying him out
in June 28.
Yes, that would be the case. Anyway, so he's the center. He's out there, and he's a little closer to a second-line center than what's available on the UFA market. Roslovic had a nice year last year, scored a bunch of goals, but still think I'd feel a little bit better with Kadri lined up as my second-line center than I would with Roslovic. And
cap hit of 2.3 doubled up, right? So you'd pay him for twice at 2.3.
2 years at 2.3?
Yeah.
That's buyoutable.
Yep.
in the final year.
Good savings, 4.67 in savings.
Yeah. That's and Cap's going up in these intervening years, right? So the 2.3 is going to be a smaller and smaller portion.
In fact, if you bought them up with if you sawed it in half and bought out the last 2 years, it would be 2.3 over 4. So
yeah,
still not terrible.
Yeah. Anyways, you wonder whether the Canucks, who have made some deals with Calgary, right? In fact, one of the pieces of one of those deals, you see that Joni Jurmo was released today from the Calgary Flames, one of the pieces involved in the Elias Lindholm trade with the Flames.
That did not keep me up at night, the fact that Joni Jurmo might develop.
But, Brestevich had a poor season, or at least poor start. Jurmo's now turned into nothing for the Flames. Of course, they made the Zadorov deal with Calgary earlier last season as well. So just saying, if Kadri is available, and Kadri is speaking like this, he then went on to compliment Calgary and how much his family loves it here. I think he realized, I might have gone too far down a rabbit. Anyways, if Kadri's available, I think if you're the Vancouver Canucks, it's mismanagement if you're not checking in on that, right? He's a center.
Yep.
You need a center. $7 million, which, you're going to have to move money out, but perhaps more affordable than some of the other centers that are out there on the market. And Drance also reporting teams were interested in Silovs alongside the 15th overall pick. It makes me wonder, was it Silovs and 15th overall for Rossi, and Minnesota said, no, we're good in goal? I don't know. But interesting that Silovs' name was connected to the 15th overall pick, because that tells me that the Canucks were trying to use Silovs in a package to get a top two center.
It doesn't surprise me that wouldn't have carried a lot of weight.
I think he would have had to have been the third piece in a package, not the second.
Yeah.
What's going on with Yellow Dog? We just got a drop from our buddy Dan Cahill right here.
Can't wait
in the opening moments of the show.
Here's the good news, folks. In this month of July, not one, but 2 beers on special at private and government liquor stores near you. You can get your Chase by Tail Pale Ales, the tall cans, 473 milliliters, on special for the month of July. You can get your Neighborhood Way of Life IPAs, 4-pack tall cans.
Big beer.
On special for the month of July. Go check them out. Your faves are available here in this hot month of July.
Our friend Dan from Yellow Dog just did the drop. He's Irish. Have you heard what's going on this week on the island of Ireland? They have the big Gaelic football championship, which, like in Ireland, does 80,000 people. They have the hurling championship next week, which in Ireland does like 40, 50,000 people. And they have the Open Championship at Royal Portrush, Northern Ireland. This is a really big couple of weeks for the Irish in sports. And good on them. Maybe you get another Irish winner.
Maybe.
Bowen Byram, Cranbrook's Bowen Byram signs a 2-year, $6.25 million deal with the Buffalo Sabres. They were heading towards arbitration. This new deal walks him to unrestricted free agency. Look, in some cases, this may make Bowen Byram a little bit more tradable because the acquiring team isn't looking at an RFA status and arb rights and sweating that. So you have cost certainty for 2 years over 6.25. But in other ways, I think this makes the return on Bowen Byram less because he's not locked up long term. You only get him for the 2 years. Then you're going to have to pay significantly more, deal with another contract extension negotiation. So it's going to be interesting to see. And I do think there's a Bowen Byram market. Like, I do think this is a play. I've been skeptical of all the trade activity that's supposed to come from this NHL summer with all this money in the system. But I do think a Bowen Byram trade is coming down at some point this summer.
I think it really depends on the team. I don't know that having him under contract for just 2 years is necessarily the detriment. You've got cost certainty. 2 years is a long time. Depending on where you are in your evolution, you might find it helpful. Okay. And, you know, I think you also have to consider what you're going to be using him for. Like, does he get a raise after those 2 years? Yeah. But I don't know that this is a guy that is going to be so prolific offensively that he puts himself into that, 8 million plus stratosphere. I think he's a physical player that has offensive capabilities, but I don't know that he's a $9 or $10 million defenseman.
He's a transporter. Yeah.
So I think he can only get so expensive for Byram.
Yeah, well,
and his health
he's
is
a
going to
puck transporter that can play both sides.
But he's very fallible too. He gives away the puck a lot, and he's not stout defensively. So I think you could end up seeing a guy who's finding his level just a little bit, and he's got to prove his health too. Like he's got to play 65 games minimum over these 2 years for him to get that money.
Mm-hmm. Former Vancouver Canuck farmhand Michael Carcone is going back to Utah. He was a 19-point, just 7 goals this year for Carcone after the 21 the year before. And he was the one guy that was sad to see the Mullet Arena go. He did damage at the Mullet.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. And 3 Canucks make Scott Wheeler's top 100 drafted prospects list on The Athletic. It's prospect season now that everybody's drafted. We get to look at the lists, organizational top 10s, top 100 overall. Tom Wielander checks in as prospect number 44, according to Wheeler. Lekramaki at number 50, and Braden Coots, the new guy, at 73.
By the way, a little note in that Drance article.
Mm-hmm.
It is Drance's guess that Lekramaki is absolutely starting the season in the AHL.
I saw that.
And that Wielander is almost certainly starting it in the NHL level.
Tom's been saying that. I'm sort of a believe it when I see it because of the number of NHL defensemen you have ahead of him.
You just don't need to.
That's it. Like
if he outright wins it, I guess, but that's going to be tough to do in the short preseasons nowadays. It's not quite the full short preseason yet, but
but he's got to beat out some combination of Mancini or Forbert
and Joseph.
And it has to be, as you say, with certainty, right?
Like he just makes your team better.
Because otherwise the option is he plays 20-plus minutes a night for Abbotsford.
And he doesn't have to clear waivers. So he has to burst through the door. Mm-hmm. He has to Kool-Aid man this one.
Okay, so what do you think Josh Von Bluger are worth?
Not much.
No.
I mean, they're going to be pick sell-offs, I think.
I'm just looking at this. You're trying to move out salary, and again, potentially $5 million with those 2 players combined.
I mean, I think you're looking at a 5th-round pick.
Bluger further subtracts from the position you were trying to fortify. Bluger further subtracts from the 3rd-best league penalty kill last year after you've already lost Pius Suter, who was a key part of that unit. I'm just not seeing the logic dots connected here. Not that I think Bluger's irreplaceable, but I just don't understand, if the plan was pay Evander Kane $5 million and then pay Brock $7 million at the expense of center, there's just no way. They have stated goals that are different than that.
I think Heedle's a possibility too, but again, I don't think you're trading away Heedle to get Roslovic.
No.
So if there's a clear upgrade and a trade market, I could see them moving Heedle, but Heedle's got a higher ceiling than Roslovic, I think.
Yeah. I think they're trying to serve 2 masters here like they were at the deadline. Fulfill the owner's demands and do the best job we can do vis-a-vis the hockey plan that we hope to execute without interference. That's what it's looking like to me. And that's what it has looked like in the past with the Vancouver Canucks and Canucks sports and entertainment. Our menu today by Greta, fantastic spot for all the games. You're mere steps away from the stadium or the arena. So pregame, postgame, check it on out. And if you're planning an upcoming party or social event, Greta is an absolutely fantastic spot. It's a huge space. They have a delicious menu, very unpretentious food. Plus, you got the arcade, and there's a game for everybody there. If you're interested in booking an event, check out Greta and go find them, gretabar.com for more info. Greta, 50 West Cordova, let the games begin. We will talk to John Shannon coming up here on all things Vancouver Canuck, as well as a little bit of a history lesson on the NHL All-Star Game and skills competitions, what they have tried going back to 1990. Also coming up later in the program, a whole bunch of BC kids were drafted in the Major League Baseball draft, so we'll get to that, as well as Cal Raleigh and his big night at the All-Star Game, as well as movement afoot with Vancouver Whitecaps FC, who seem poised to bid farewell here to Pedro Vite. He's been one of the best players in MLS this year, but they got a replacement, a new guy coming as well as they prepare for tomorrow's big match against Houston down in the state of Texas. And the Lions, of course, home Saturday against the Riders at BC Place. Time now for our Bet365 bets of the day. I told you I liked Raleigh, and I liked one of the young kids in the home run, so I'm going to call that a win.
Okay.
And next couple of days, I'm going to just take you through some names that I like for the Open Championship. Look, Shane Lowry, plus 2,700. He won at Portrush 6 years ago when last it was there. Fleetwood was really close in that tournament as well at plus 2,400. So you may want to look at him. In fact, Hatton as well at plus 2,700. So, a lot of British and Irish Isles players there. I'm looking at those three guys in particular. Seb Straka 2 at plus 5,000. And I have a feeling Rory's headspace will be better this time around at Portrush than it was when he was clearly pressing and shot that opening round 79 the last time the Open Championship was held right near his home in Northern Ireland.
Corey Connors is the overwhelming Canadian favorite, and I don't know where that comes from because Nick Taylor is by far playing better golf than Corey Connors these days. To me, Nick Taylor is the top Canadian golfer right now. I don't know about winning this thing, but you can take, of course, a top 5 finish.
Yep.
And that's at plus 1,600 to get a top 5 finish. And I feel like that's where Taylor is right now. Is he may not be able to win this thing, but first page of the leaderboard, yep, I think you can envision that.
He's such a good ball striker. I was watching Golf Channel yesterday live from the Open, and Darren Clark, who has played a lot of golf at Royal Portrush, and Paul McGinley also played a lot of golf at Portrush, and you got an Irishman, Northern Irishman there. They both talked about how when Lowry won 6 years ago, he really got away with driving the ball offline and hitting terrific approaches or salvaging himself with those terrific hands that he has around the green, chipping and putting. They thought that whoever won this week would be a consistent driver of the golf ball, putting it in good spots and giving themselves low stress second shots, and that's Corey Connors' game, right? Like, he is a ball striker. He's going to more often than not be
I'm going
center.
Taylor, though. I'm going Taylor at plus 1,600.
Well,
he's playing far better golf right now than Corey Connors. So.
Typically, Connors is middle of the fairway and then onto the green, and that's where he struggles with the putting. But
Taylor played very well. Taylor played very well at the Scottish last week, though, too.
He did. And the 4 Canadians took a very nice photo of themselves today at the Open Championship because Pendrith and Hughes are there as well. This segment, a presentation of Bet365. Whatever your bet, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app, get in on the game, use code NATION when doing so. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. John Shannon coming up next. Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center. Baseball fans, if you're all about the Jays or you just live and breathe baseball, you're going to want to check out the Nation Network's brand new podcast, The 6th Inning Stretch. Hosted by Lindsey Dunn, 3-time Major League All-Star Whit Merrifield, former Toronto Blue Jay. Insider stories, unfiltered baseball talk, exclusive player interviews, biggest headlines from around the majors, and yes, behind-the-scenes access, maybe a few laughs as well. Nothing is off limits. New episodes drop every Wednesday, so be sure to like, follow, subscribe. The 6th Inning Stretch. Wherever you get your podcasts, catch full episodes on Blue Jays Nation YouTube channel, and we'll talk more baseball later in the program with Cal Raleigh winning the home run derby and sad passing in the Blue Jays orbit, not to mention some roster moves for the Vancouver Canadians. Going to see a British Columbian up here this weekend.
Big Dumper, the best nickname in sports right now.
It is truly one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're saying, thank you, Jared Kelnick, for a brief and not very memorable stint in Seattle. Of course, he was a top prospect of the Mets. He was supposed to be the crown jewel in that big trade they made for the relief pitcher, but didn't turn out that way. So he's made his way to Atlanta, and his enduring legacy is Big Dumper.
That's Matt's next advanced stat, Big Dumpers.
Oh, just... Hey,
Wingspan.
I was right about Wingspan. Big Dumpers is next. Here's John Shannon. What a segue. Here's John Shannon.
What a segue.
Former executive producer of Hockey Night in Canada.
And
the most famous man from all over British Columbia. How are you?
I'm good, and I'm not going near anything there.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Best to move on.
I hear you. How hard did you guys try to get like a signature event at National Hockey League All-Star Weekend? Like Home Run Derby and Slam Dunk Contest over the years have brought some people to the yard. How easy, difficult has that been in hockey?
So the first time we did anything of that ilk on an official basis was 1990 in Pittsburgh. It was the first opportunity for the skills competition. I wasn't with the league at the time, but I was running Sports Channel America's hockey in the United States. And so we were heavily involved in the organization and production of that. The biggest challenge over the years, which has changed, is that a lot of players would not and were not willing to compete in skills that they were very good at for the fear of A, injury, and B, embarrassment. And so you'd have a plan in place for the fastest skater, and you'd put Mike Madonna on it, and then Mike would say, "No, I don't want to skate in that.
Yeah.
I'd rather do the agility." "No, Mike, you're one of the fastest skaters in the game." "Yeah, no, I'm not doing it." So that really became a really, really tough challenge over, gosh, my time at Hockey Night, we had the same issues. When I was with the league, we had the issues. It seems to have improved now, and certainly in the last couple of years when the league has done all-star games, because they have had much more direct involvement of the stars like Connor McDavid in order to try to improve it. But it's, I'm one of those guys that, we can sit and talk about the Home Run Derby, but the reason we talk about the Home Run Derby is that was the only sport thing going on right now.
That's fair enough.
There's nothing
fair
else.
Enough.
Which is one of the reasons why, by the way, the NHL schedule in its entirety is coming out on Wednesday, is because there are absolutely no sports going on Wednesday. So there'll be a lot of attention in both countries about what the NHL schedule's like.
And to be fair, it's not like the NFL has a signature event.
Nobody does anymore. Nobody does anymore. And the magic of those types of events was that we never saw all the games all the time. Major League Baseball was cool because you saw the All-Star game and you saw all the uniforms of all the teams. And then there was a real rivalry between the American League and the National League, and it was fun if you were a National League guy or an American League guy. But I can watch in the NHL. I can watch 1,312 regular season games in my living room. Yep. So nothing special about seeing what that sweater looks like anymore. I see it all the time.
I mean, leagues love to create content, John. They love to create new things that will get eyeballs on it. I get it. But it is kind of interesting that the NFL, which has a very physical sport like the NHL does, doesn't force the issue too much. They've tried to reinvent the Pro Bowl a little bit, but it's been half-hearted at best. And the fans, though, the more important point to be made here is the fans aren't clamoring for anything more. Like, they respect the fact that people aren't saying, "Hey, why don't you guys do an All-Star game?" Like, nobody is saying that. It seems like everybody respects the fact that it is a long enough season for a physical game, and the fans are just content with whatever they get, and they don't call for more. It's the NFL's in a good spot there.
Well, and the NFL's been smart. They said, well, we're going to go to flag football. Oh, and by the way, why don't we get flag football for the Olympics?
Yeah.
And so they're going to reap the residue of all of that when the Olympics in Los Angeles have flag football, and Canada has a chance to come second.
In fact, anything less than silver will be a massive disappointment.
Yes,
we're holding them to that standard in Los Angeles. Let's get to hockey in the Vancouver Canucks. John, we're asking on our Whistler Golf Club poll question today. Do you agree with what the Canucks have done in goal? The extending of both Kevin Lankinen and Thatcher Demko, and now the trading of Artur Silovs. What says you?
Well, so let's call Silovs what he was. He was the MVP of the American League playoffs, which was fantastic. He seemed to have remedied some of the issues he had in his Canuck appearances over the last little while. The problem was for the Canucks is that I think Demko's a better goalie. I think Lankinen's a better goalie. And Silovs needed waivers. So there's the bottom line. And so you could keep Silovs and you could put him on your roster as the third goalie, but when you sent him to the American League, you were going to lose him. Somebody was going to claim him. So to get something for him makes a ton of sense. Was it a lot? Probably not as much as people want. I mean, Stillman's a tough young guy, and heaven knows what a fourth-round pick is worth, but I don't think – and Patrick Alvin, we had Patrick Alvin on our show, 2.5 weeks ago, and he kind of hinted that something was coming down the pipe about Silovs, and it did happen exactly as he said it. Was they knew they had to do something, and in many ways, I think they actually owed it to him. I think that there wasn't a place for him on the big squad, but he has been a loyal employee and did a great job for Abbotsford. And so let's put him in a spot to succeed, and maybe we can get something for him too.
And he's in a spot to succeed. I mean, there's every bit the possibility that he wins the number 2 job there. And if Tristan Jarry doesn't pull up his socks a little bit, there's the potential for some major starters minutes here.
Absolutely.
In fact,
I would not be surprised to see it as 50-50 before the season's over. Like
potentially,
Jarry's inconsistencies are something that have plagued him for the last 2 or 3 years, although he was better the second half of the season last year. And really, in many ways, when you saw that Kyle had traded Alex Nedeljkovic to San Jose, that number 2 spot was wide open. So Silovs is in a really good position in a great little hockey town. So, I mean, it should be fun to watch what he's able to do behind a rebuilding Pittsburgh Penguins.
Canucks have devoted a lot of money to the goaltending position. That's the one caveat here is, they're up over $13 million here. That's a lot of cashola. Is that you don't see a whole lot of teams devoting that much money because it's not been proven to work. Like having stellar goaltending as sort of your hallmark with good defense and not so great offense, like that. That's not a model that we see in the NHL, but it may or may not work. We'll see.
No, but and it may not be a fair comparison, but when you look at the amount of money that Tampa has put into goaltending, 90% of it is Vasilevsky. When you look at what Florida has put into goaltending, 90% is Bobrovsky. When you look at what the Rangers have done, 90% of it's Shesterkin, although, that's a pretty good combination with Shesterkin and Quick there. Teams live with great goaltending and succeed with great goaltending. There's every reason to think, with the giant caveat, if he stays healthy, that Thatcher Demko is an elite goaltender in this league, and he can be that difference maker.
We'll see, indeed.
Well, you have to put that in, and then Lankinen becomes a pretty good insurance policy for a guy who, and you guys saw it as much as I did. What he did while Demko was out at the first half of the season that gave the team a chance to even compete.
Yeah. And John, you handle it this way if you're hell-bent on the playoffs. Like, by all rights, they should be a playoff team next year if Demko is healthy and Lankinen plays to what he is, right? Like if you can run both of those goaltenders out on any given night for 82 next year, your goal prevention should be strong. I mean, provided you play reasonably well in front of them defensively, your goal prevention should be solid enough to be a playoff team.
And I think, I agree. And I think you look at the ratio, Connor Hellebuck, who's the Vezina winner, played, I think, 63 this year for Winnipeg. I'm thinking if they're cautious about what Demko's going to go, I think the ratio is probably going to be 50-32. Mm-hmm. And if it's 50-32, that I think then that the Demko dollars are worth it, and perhaps what they've paid for Lankinen for not just the short term, but for a longer period of time, I think that that's well worth the money.
Yep. And John, we've been discussing since the Lankinen extension, and then certainly post Demko extension, is a season of trying to win games 3-2 and 2-1. Is that going to fly with the fans? You've got long experience in this country and in a lot of markets as well. British Columbian, worked in Toronto. I know you do a ton of work in Edmonton and Winnipeg. Do you think that NHL Canadian hockey fans just want to see a winner, and if it is ugly duckling 2-1, 3-2 hockey, so be it? Or do you think there needs to be some degree of entertainment style panache, up and down, goal scoring, open hockey to entertain the masses in this country at this stage of the game?
Well, the double-edged sword is that in the regular season you want to be entertained, and in the playoffs you want to win. So my gut tells me at this point, I think W's are more important than entertainment, because W's are the ultimate entertainment. And you the day after the game, you look at the standings and you say, did we win or did we lose? Not, gosh, it was really exciting, but we lost. I think you need the wins first. And I think that, the goaltending situation for the Canucks helps them get closer to that. I also think their defense is is going to be pretty good. I think they're in pretty good shape. If everybody would, stop worrying about what happens 24 months from now, I think that, that they can enjoy a pretty good defensive group of players playing for the Canucks.
There's we talked yesterday on the show. I floated the possibility of a poll question on, is there another big trade still coming for the Vancouver Canucks? And lo and behold, by the end of the day, there's already reports that is the case for Vancouver. Do you think that there's still something to be shaken free here by Jim Rutherford and Patrick Allvin, given the state of the forwards and the state of centers? Do you think they can pull something off here, despite the fact they're up against the cap?
Well, if you're up against the cap, what are you giving up? It becomes the question.
That is.
Mm-hmm. They got to move money out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're right. I think the answer is yes, and I do think that they still need to address, in my opinion, the number 2 center spot. I think that it's almost to the point where asking Hedl to be the number 2 center is just it's putting a square peg into a round hole. I think he's by far more effective as your number 3 center. So how do you fix that? You got to go find somebody to play there. And where do you have strength? And I do think they have some strength on the blue line to move somebody if in fact they would. So that becomes something that is has to be considered. And by the way, I think that's a conversation 32 teams are having. Yeah. I think with what's going on with the cap and who's over the cap and how close they are to the cap and where teams are, I think we are still between now and Labor Day. We're going to see some player movement if they can get through the players no move and no trade clauses.
Want to ask you what becomes now of Cranbrook's Bowen Byram. He's got a deal with the Buffalo Sabres. It is 2 years. It's maybe a little more money than some had projected, but it walks him straight into unrestricted free agency, and he's been telling the Sabres for some time he would like more opportunity on that blue line where they have the 2 young first overalls. ahead of him. What do you think? Is he more tradable now? Has the value gone up or down? What do you forecast here for Bowen Byram, who seems like one of the bigger pieces yet to drop here in this NHL offseason?
I was a Byram fan when he was back in Colorado, and even considering some of his health issues there, those seem to have gone away. So from that perspective, if I'm the Buffalo Sabres, I don't even, if there has been some sort of resolution of, I like playing here, I can play here for at least 2 years, I don't know why the Sabres would even consider moving. I really don't. If somebody comes out and says, well, he wants out, which I have yet to hear, he's a great asset to have. You're right. The 6.25 is a lot of money. But at the same time, the Sabres might be in the toughest division in hockey. And if you're going to win, you're going to win on defense. And I think when you talk about Dahlin and Power being, the linchpins on the blue line, I think you have to put Byram in that same conversation.
Yeah, I agree.
Those three are pretty good.
I think he's that good. And so why would you even consider moving him unless he has become a malcontent of some sort? And I've never heard that.
Well, he's their second best defenseman after Dahlin. Right. Like he's better than Owen Power. It's just when you take a kid first overall, like Owen Power is taken first overall, and he's huge and all that, you want to force feed him minutes and see, if he can be that top pair.
And Kesselring's no slouch either, so their top four are pretty good. They're pretty set.
They, and God knows they need goal prevention.
Yeah.
And they also have the Alex Tuch matter too, right? Like he's going into the final year of his deal, and the reports out of Buffalo where that is he's either got to sign long term, and he is a Western New York guy, so or that's going to be a trade as well, and we're watching that matter because he had the good sense to marry a British Columbia girl, so we're wondering if maybe something happens there. Yeah, and then there's Pittsburgh.
Can he play center? Can he play center?
I know.
He's got to play center.
I know. Speaking of square pegs and round holes, like Jared McCann, Evan Rodriguez, they don't play a ton of center anymore, but we're thinking of them as centers now because there's just a shortage of centers. So guess what? Guys who have center in your background, you've got to play center again this year in the NHL.
I'm not sure Jared McCann can come home, guys. That's one of those. That name, I read that name every once in a while. I'm just saying, too late, done. Former Canuck, not future Canuck, former Canuck.
Mm-hmm. Then there's Pittsburgh, who are holding on to the two scoring wingers, Rust and Raquel, have Erik Karlsson that they're looking to peddle. And then who knows about the two big stars? Is Kyle Dubas is he holding all the cards here? John, is he going to reap these big prices that apparently he's asking for because of the dearth of players who are available on the trade market?
Well, I think that there's a little bit out of his control. I mean, you talk about the big two. I mean, Evgeny Malkin, first of all, I'd love to know what his health is. That knee doesn't sound very good. So that's an issue. I'm again one of those guys. Maybe I'm a stubborn old coot. Sid's not going anywhere. Sid's just not going. I mean, his legacy is in Pittsburgh. He will be part of the Pittsburgh Mount Rushmore at some point. And I think that for him to be discussed as somebody that's going to be traded, I just do not see it. I do not see it. Period. So whether that makes life easier for Kyle or not. I'm not sure. I think it probably does. The Karlsson thing is the problem with the Karlsson thing is that's of his own doing. That he didn't inherit Erik Karlsson. He traded for Erik Karlsson, and it has not worked. Period. So if you could find somebody like a Detroit that might be willing to take him, because let's face it, Steve Yzerman needs some help too. Maybe the worst team in the last decade on special teams, period. And they're in, Detroit, it goes back to Buffalo a little bit. Detroit and Buffalo are in that realm of, gosh, look what Ottawa did. There used to be 3 ugly ducklings in the Atlantic. Now there's only 2. And so they have to do something. They have to do it quickly. So The Brian Rust one is in my mind is like Byram, because I love Brian Rust. We talked about him 3 weeks ago. Should they look at Rust? Absolutely look at Brian Rust if they could get him, even if he doesn't play center. But Kyle still needs guys to score goals and to lead the team too. So I can understand that. Raquel, I still think he'll look at moving Raquel. I really do. But Rust is somebody, to me, he's a foundational guy. He's as much a foundational guy as Letang and Malkin, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, Rust was there for the Cups, right? Raquel has been more of a turn lately.
Big goal guy. He's a big goal
He
guy.
was, yeah. And then, of course, the other problem he has with Karlsson, he's a $10 million cap hit. Now, it's only 16.5 in actual cash over these last 2 years, but it's a $10 million cap hit, which does take some teams out of it, even with all this cap space floating about. And we talked about that last week.
He's going to have to. I still think he's going to have to eat some. So.
Oh, for sure.
Look at the draft picks Pittsburgh has, guys. They've got 12 top 3 round picks in the next 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's how tear down rebuilds are done.
Yeah,
right.
But they're not done. They're not even. They just started, and they've already got that draft. Now
capital. They don't have multiple firsts, so
no,
there's still
that's the weakness.
Things are not perfect in Pittsburgh as a rebuild. There were a lot more empty seats at the end of the season there than normal. There's an ownership change. Like, what's going on there, John? Like, we hear Mario and Burkle are maybe back and looking to buy from Fenway. That seems to be I don't
the
think they're
biggest
looking
matter.
to buy the whole thing. I think what Fenway's doing is they're looking for a cash injection. Gotcha. And so they're not giving up any power. 51% is 51%, and Fenway's not going to do that. If they're going to find other investors, it's to be minority owners. And whether it's Burkle and Mario again, which by the way, I'd love to see Mario Lemieux back involved with the organization one more time. I think, foundationally, I think that's so important for the Penguins, so important for Pittsburgh. Mario would like to be more involved. And I think when you look at the influence that Mario had on the hockey club over the time he was in ownership, I think he's due that. So I'd love to see him back part of the picture somehow, some way.
I think we all would. John, marvelous stuff. Enjoy your week. Hit the ball straight. We'll catch up next week.
Off to Charlottetown, Boys and Girls Club for a couple of days to hit the golf ball.
Good for you.
There you go. Enjoy.
Great golf there.
Cheers, boys.
No mountains. So here's some praise from the historic Wall Center, where you cheer louder when you're well rested. Book your staycation here at the Wall Center, just minutes from the stadium and the arena. Unlock the Sick Harrison price rate by calling 604-331-1000. Some blackout dates apply based on
schedule
availability
tomorrow, so you can start to make those plans.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Whitecaps appear poised to lose midfielder Pedro Vite, who was spotted on Robson this weekend rolling suitcases in front of a fresh slice. Looks like somebody is packing.
I don't think he was using the suitcases for fresh slice. Let's be clear.
No, I don't think so.
Happened to be
or
photographed.
vapes, if you're looking at the photo.
Yeah.
Someone snapped a photo of him. There he is. Vite was not at training yesterday. Hart Johal of Daily Hive says he will not travel to away games this week, as Mexican reports say he is signing with Pumas. Caps in Houston tomorrow and have already replaced Vite, according to reports in Peru. 22-year-old Peruvian midfielder Kenji Cabrera, who has been capped by Peru at the U20 level, 9 goals, 4 assists for Peruvian Liga 1 side FCB Melgar this year, and Melgar will reportedly retain a 20% sell-on clause as part of his
nice player
transfer.
He's, his international stats line up very similar. Like they shadow each other. We don't have that tweet. I don't think my tweet on that, but I've clipped it if people want to go check. They basically shadow each other. Like it is not only a replacement in terms of position, but in terms of style of play, it is almost identical. Now, Vite was a great fit this year. You know, like there's no guarantee that you plug in a similar player and you get the same fit. So we will see. They get a little bit younger. He's like 15 months younger than Pedro Vite. He won't qualify as a DP. It looks like he can qualify as a U22 player. And we'll see what else Axel gets up to starting in 9 days' time.
Yes.
It's disappointing because
it is disappointing. I was going to say, like, we were talking about Vite in terms of one of the best players in MLS in the first 10, 15 games. I mean, we were talking about him as a potential league MVP if anybody around MLS cared to notice the village of Vancouver.
Amazingly, some of the big anchors were saying that too.
Like, no, it's true. It did get to that level of talk on the MLS broadcast and on the MLS more national programs. So, yes, very disappointing. The other thing is disappointing is I can remember you saying earlier when these rumors first started, you know, if you're going to transfer to a big European side, get it, right?
Near lateral
Pumas
move
and
here.
League MX,
near lateral.
Right.
Like Pumas is a big, it's
a very big side.
It's like the LAFC of Liga MX.
Right.
So, yeah, it's a bigger club, but we're talking increment rather than leap.
Right.
So...
yeah, I don't think anybody in MLS circles begrudges a player for moving to a top 5 league in Europe.
Yeah.
I think they understand that, you know, that's where the huge money is. That's where the huge opportunity.
Or even a big club in a
lesser league.
Like a Bruges. Like, you know, you go to Club Bruges. Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Or Red Star, you know, just one of these big clubs in leagues that aren't quite as deep or talented. But no, it's disappointing. But, you know, good on Axel for salvaging it here with a similar player. And, you know, now that kid has some pressure on him because they're going to need him, right?
Yep.
Cal Raleigh, big dumper. He wins the home run derby at All-Star game in Atlanta. He qualifies for the final by 1 inch on a tie-breaking procedure. Longest home run with Brent Rooker of the Athletics. And then he beats Tampa's Junior Caminero in the final. His dad was pitching, his brother was catching. He's the second Mariner to win. Ken Griffey Jr. won it 3 times. And more Canadian content coming from the later rounds of the Major League Baseball draft. I was unfamiliar with this story till this morning. Cam Leiter, a pitcher taken in the second round by the Los Angeles Dodgers, and if that name sounds familiar, it should. He is the nephew of former big league pitchers Al and Mark Leiter. Of course, Al, a member of the Toronto Blue Jays for the World Series teams. And Al has gone on to be an exceptional broadcaster, truly one of the great analysts working in sport today. Cam, his mom is from British Columbia, Nicole Caldwell. She was working in Boston, where she met Kurt Leiter, the brother of Mark and Al Leiter. And they got married, moved here to British Columbia, her hometown. He played for the Langley Blaze for a number of years before they relocated to New Jersey, where the Leiters are from, in high school. So a second-round pick there with deep Major League or BC roots. Even talked about how much fun he had playing for the Langley Blaze program. So congratulations to Cam. And a ton of British Columbian kids were selected in the later rounds. Left-handed pitcher Shane Brinham of Handsworth Secondary.
Go Royals. Nice work, Shane.
Believe the Price family knows Shane. 23. He was the last pick in the draft by the LA Dodgers. He's committed to the University of Michigan. You were telling me Carson Latimer of Surrey is a 12th rounder. He's a pitcher going to the Cincinnati Reds. Left-handed pitcher Hayden Cuthbertson from Ladner going to the Miami Marlins in the 18th round, as well as Tyrell Chadwick from Burnaby to Colorado. And then congratulations to the UBC Thunderbirds. A couple of kids there off to Major League Baseball or minor league baseball. Ryan Hepner, a pitcher from Point Roberts, drafted by Atlanta in the 19th round, and outfielder Johnny McGill of Richmond signed with the LA Angels after the draft. As those careers begin, sadly, a life ends, and a life that in Blue Jay circles in the early to mid 80s was quite a big name. Jim Clancy passes away this week at age 69. Diamond Jim, as he was known, spent 12 of his 15 Major League seasons with the Blue Jays. He was an All-Star in 1982. He ranks second in franchise history in starts, innings pitched, and complete games behind Dave Stieb. Really before all those young bats got there and congealed into a playoff team in 85, because, Mosby and Barfield and Bell and Fernandez were sort of on their way up in the early to mid 80s. There was a period of time where the Blue Jays had Dave Stieb and they had Jim Clancy. And if they weren't winning those two games, they were in a whole lot of trouble.
I was still in Winnipeg at that time, so it wasn't close to the Jays per se. I had a Dave Stieb glove, so I did know who Dave Stieb was.
Everybody knew Dave Stieb.
And probably the second Blue Jay that I ever knew about as a kid was Jim Clancy. It probably was.
74 complete games. When you think of how the game has changed, right? Like 74 complete games he threw in his career. In fact, he started 40 games in 1982.
Wow.
He is the only non-knuckleballer to make 40 starts in a major league season in the last 43
No kidding.
years. Yeah. When I was a young reporter covering the Blue Jays, Blake, I made a crack in the press box where kind of the butt of the joke was Jim Clancy. And the looks that I got from the assembled press, and it wasn't because they felt like Jim Clancy was the be-all, end-all or whatnot. Just every single person in that press box talked about what a stand-up, good human Jim Clancy was. Would apparently just sit there all day and take guys into the inside of what he was thinking on this pitch, how the slider is running, and all that. Had time for everyone. A Chicago area guy. Condolences to his family and all the Blue Jays fans who remember Diamond Jim.
Only Dave Stieb and Roy Halladay with more wins. Wow.
Yeah, big right-hander, Jim Clancy. Intimidating presence on the mound when he was Blake. He came into Major League Baseball, and he was throwing amongst the fastest fastballs out there at 95 miles per hour in the late 70s. Think of how the game has changed now, too, right? Like 95, now you're just mid.
Yep.
Seas are off till Friday when they start their post-All-Star game portion of the schedule, trailing Eugene by 4 games in the second half standings. Vancouver needs to win the second half to reach the championship series again for a third straight year, after falling just short of qualifying in the first half. They have lost outfielder Victor Arias. He has been promoted to Double-A. He was terrific with the Seas. But they have called up Victoria's Sam Shaw from Dunedin. We talked to Sam a couple of years ago when he got drafted. He's playing second base, an outfielder for the Dunedin Blue Jays at the complex, rocking an 800 OPS at Single-A, so should be a big weekend for him with a hometown kid coming home to play here at the Nat. It's a Fortis Friday nooner. Post-game fireworks Saturday. Reminder, it's now 7 p.m. starts at the Nat on Saturday. And how about this for a giveaway? A Wasabi headband giveaway for White Spot Family Fun Sunday.
Perfect.
They're here all next week, too, with a 6-game set against those Eugene Emeralds who they're trying to track down. Get your tickets, 604-872-5232. Or CanadiansBaseball.com.
And you're convinced that Wasabi is the hands down.
Yeah, I did see
top ranked.
So I saw the scoreboard at the last Seas game I went to.
Well, they keep score. Wow.
Yeah. They do. And Wasabi, yes, is the runaway winner of the sushi races.
What an athlete.
Yeah. Well, I know Wasabi a little bit.
Do you?
Yeah. And actually, I was talking to Wasabi at the game last time.
Well, you can only talk to Wasabi. You can't talk back. So.
Well, I speak Wasabi.
You speak condiments. Different. That's a different language. That's a different language.
He was telling me that sometimes he lets others win, but for the most part,
he's just playing with them. He's playing with his food.
Toys. Yeah. The BC Lions back in practice today, coming off that win in Edmonton.
I'm in dad joke heaven right now.
Looking again, Grant. Can you tell us July 15th?
My kids got angry at me last night for my dad jokes. That's
how bad they were?
That's how bad it got, yep.
Coming off the win in Edmonton, they're trying to gain ground on 4-1 Saskatchewan here Saturday at BC Place. The upper deck is open, everybody, and the Watermelon Smash gets going on the Plaza, the pregame backyard barbecue starting at noon. And in case you're wondering, the smashed watermelons do not go to waste. They're donated to farmers who feed them to pigs.
For pigs, yeah.
Apparently, pigs love them some watermelon. James Butler, Jarrell Broxton, and the entirety of the BC Lions offensive line, we shouted them out yesterday, are on the CFL weekly honor roll after that 30-carry, 170-yard rushing performance from Butler. Things you don't see very often at any level of football now, but particularly the professional ranks and even less so in the CFL, a 30-carry game. Used to be a thing, kids. Used to be able to tune in on a Sunday for the NFL and know that Tony Dorsett or Eric Dickerson or Walter Payton or whoever the big running backs were at the time were going to get a chance to carry the ball 25, 30 times. Remember that?
I think in the CFL, Willard Reeves probably had a few 30-carry games, guys like that, you know?
Yeah, the big CFL running backs as well. Lugged it. Mike Pringle.
Yeah, Pringle for sure. Yeah.
For sure. Anyways, not a thing anymore. Good on James. Poll question results. Whistler Golf Club poll question results from yesterday. What will become of Arturs Silovs? Canucks folklore or NHL starter? What did the people say?
I think they said folklore. What did they say?
They said folklore, 70%.
That's a little higher than I would have guessed.
Reese, I'm sad he's been traded from the Canucks organization, but can only wish him well in Pittsburgh. Definitely hope he becomes an NHL regular. Here, Reese. We were saying that yesterday. Basketball Phil, he will become an NHL goalie, capable one, not elite, but someone who can play 35, 45 games in a season. I think you'd be delighted with that. Co-starter. Hassan from Burnaby, hot run in the Calder Cup playoffs. Regular season numbers were pedestrian in the AHL. He's got a long way to go. Voting folklore. I have an error and omission note here about Lankinen.
Cap hit?
Oh, no, it was about you wondering when Kevin Lankinen was in the fold.
Oh, yes.
Right.
I had said that he wasn't, I had insinuated that he wasn't even available for opening night, but he was the official backup.
Yeah.
Okay, that surprised me.
Yeah, no, he...
Because he ended up getting a couple of preseason games in, didn't he?
He did. Yeah. He did. Yeah. And then he started, I believe it was the second game of the year against Philadelphia. Yeah. But he was, by October 11th, he was starting games for the Canucks. So, yes, he was ready to go. There you go. We worked it out.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Nothing.
Okay. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate you spending some time and connecting with the program. Please do subscribe to all our assorted channels, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. Follow on social. That's X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky. Live on many of those platforms, noon Pacific time. A reminder, no more Fridays through the summer, 4 days a week. And, of course, support the community sponsors you hear us talking about. Keep it local.